mastery communication strategies in times of innovation and change. We start with a piece of innovation, and then I will move into the specific communication strategies for those times. So Lesya, it's all yours. Please share with us your knowledge and experience and expertise.
We are going to talk about the innovation process, how companies move from ideas to products, and what is the role of communication in the innovation performance of a company to innovate and develop new products. We are going to briefly touch base on the business trends and how communication is impacting and what is evolving in this because of these trends. We will talk about the challenges in communication inside the organizations, as well as some strategies and plans that you can use already today. So let me begin with the innovation performance and communication. I'd like to start with a statement of the founder of one of the most creative and even innovative companies of all times, so Steve Jobs from Apple. In his interview, when he was talking about the product development process, he mentioned that very often leaders and managers of companies might have a serious disease, thinking of that really great idea can be 90% of the work done. It's as if the leader is tell to its people that great idea and they go and make this happen. They create great products. In fact, this process is more complex than just having a great idea. Having a great idea or having a good idea is probably one of the easiest part of the process, because turning ideas into great product needs processes, resources, efforts, and great teams. Ideas are useless unless they are used. And the proof of the value of this idea is their actual implementation. So basically, ideas need to be turned into great products. And if nothing happening, they are just staying in the limbo. So there is a creative process that happening during the phase of when ideas goes and being transformed into the products. There is a lot of craftsmanship and discovery of new problems. Teams need to solve these problems. They also need to overcome technical challenges, because when we work on the development of new products and servicing technologies and methods, the teams always face with the technical problems and they need to solve them. There is also the design aspect of these things, when teams need to participate into the refinement and redefining the design in order to fit the requirements. So there is a lot of learning process and change management process happening when ideas go being transformed into the products. And this process is really magic. And the result of this process are innovations of different kinds, including the new products and new processes and new services. At the very high level, innovation process can be defined in three big groups of processes and stages. The first stage is the ideation phase. This is where we define the customer problems and try to develop potential solutions. A typical challenge arises when the companies are trying to make this process backwards. So they start from creating something, creating technology or creating a product, and then they search for who needs this. So they search for customer needs. That's not the optimal way of doing innovation. The second big part of the process is incubation phase. This is where companies already have enough information and data and probably started to work on the prototype of their technology or their new product. This is where they run business experimentation. They test and refine different proposals, business cases, and even get engaged with the first types of customers, for example, as lead users. And finally, the third part is a scale-up phase. So during this phase, innovations is almost ready to be launched. This is where companies combine different capabilities to maximize the results and profit. So we are purely in the economic aspect of the innovation and product launch. What is needed for effective implementation of ideas and bringing those ideas to the market? Well, we need, of course, to have a supportive leadership that commit to innovation and allocate resources for the teams and for this product development and R&D activities. We also need teamwork because innovation seldomly or almost does not happen in silos. So we need teams, and we need to have the cross-functional collaboration in teams. And the effectiveness of this collaboration will depend on how good teams can work together. And when I say teams, I mean transversal teams, not only R&D or design or engineering, because innovation will require transversal competencies and skills. So we'll need to make sure that all members of the process at different levels of the company are involved and participate, providing feedback and contributing to the overall innovation process and development of products and services. Another big aspect is that we need to have organizational culture that can support a certain level of risk, uncertainty, and tolerate failures. Because if we don't have this culture, it's less likely that companies can succeed in developing innovation, especially if we're talking about the radical type of innovation when we try to really explore new opportunities and come up with something brand new, not that the company has been doing earlier. Last but not least, we of course need processes and techniques. So this is a tools and method that can help accelerate productization of those innovations in the companies. And this is very technical, very specific for innovation process management. And one of the aspects of all these activities and processes will be, of course, communication. How good we communicate within the team, between the leaders, managers, and the teams, those who develop projects, and also with stakeholders. So communication will be probably one of the most essential part across different activities. Observing the changing nature of organizations. There is an old model of companies which has a top-down communication. So they characterized by a directive approach where top management tells their employees what to do and how to do. The studies show that this is quite limiting in terms of output of creativity and innovation. The studies show that there is a shift towards new organizational model where there is a conversation and engagement of employees and continuous collaboration and cooperation between the leaders, senior managers, top management, and employees. This is a so-called conversational approach that based on trust, inclusion, and intentionality. And these types of organizations, they really enhance the creativity, and as a result, they have more chances to develop innovations of different kinds. As Steve Jobs mentioned in his interview on managing people, if you want to hire great people and have them stay working for you, you have to let them make a lot of decisions. And of course, this involves trusting your team and giving them ability to fail when they will be developing new products. You have to be run by ideas, not the hierarchy. Best ideas have to win. Otherwise, good people do not stay. And I do believe that this is a great example when we talk in the context of innovative companies and how managers can help their employees and help their teams to come up with bright ideas and creative solutions by giving them ability to make decisions and even accepting a certain level of failures when they work on innovation. Studies also show there are 5 business trends, at least 5 business trends that show the shift towards more conversational companies that welcome in trust and collaboration. So the first one is the first factor is economic change. Because of the growth of the service industries, we observing that the knowledge work is of course increasing, and this knowledge work requires trust and collaboration. There is also the organizational change. Right now, modern companies become flatter and less hierarchical companies. So there is a need to have a bottom-up communication as well as top-down. So there is a two-way communication. The global trends and global changes. We have the increase of remote work. We have the workers that are dispersed geographically. And there is a need to have a fluid interaction and continuous communication between people of different geographies and even different cultures. So everything needs to be taken into account. Finally, there is a generational change. When younger workers are becoming to the workforce and even taking some of the leadership position, they are expecting to have a two-way communication with peers and with their stakeholders. And last but not least is technological change, because these younger generations has been raised with different technological platforms and media. And right now, the interaction are becoming instant. So we are connected all the time and everywhere. So these are some of the trends that shows that there is a need to shift from old way of doing projects, managing innovation and change management towards a new way. And remember that change is also a chance to do something different and even better.
It's important to people to understand that communication, innovation, change, all of this comes together. And sometimes we forget the importance of the leadership. And so I think for you, for us to talk about this, and I would love to hear other people as well, is what culture you have found works best. Either you experience the culture or the culture you have created for the successful organizations that you have. I've started to explore the key role communication plays in creating innovative organizations. It is an essential element for success. And sharing information and ensuring that it is understood, it is a key role in inclusive leadership, particularly when we're dealing with change. And innovation and growth always involves change. Today, we're going to continue to explore some ways to best use communication to support your organization and people who are responsible to make the change happen, so all can thrive in these times of change and creativity. Effective communication has its challenges. I like this quote from George Bernard Shaw. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it takes place. I know this holds some cynicism, but I believe that we can communicate effectively when we pay attention to the process. And at this time, what we're going to start exploring today is how leaders can best communicate in times of innovation, starting by exploring some of its challenges. The first three challenges that we have in here are usually more related to the person receiving the communication, offering the communication. You are always communicating, even when we're not saying anything. And I think sometimes we forget the power of body language, facial expression, tonality. So the way you look, are you showing an effective way? Are you showing optimism or your stress? And people read that in you even before you open your mouth. The second thing is that everything you say counts. Your words are important. Words have power. Words have weight. And so there's no second attempts of editing or deleting what you say. And so I think the old things that we always hear, engage brain before opening mouth, becomes even more important, especially in times of change and stress in any situation. And the third one, which I find fascinating and we need to remember, is that when words leave your mouth, you have no control in how they will be interpreted. We think we can control it. And I love something that I have lived in my life for many things. The only thing you can truly control is your reaction to what happens. So in communication, if you let something out that you said, oh, I didn't quite mean it, it's too late. So make sure that you really pay attention when the words come out of your mouth, especially in a position of leadership, when you're trying to help people towards the desired outcome of any major innovation in your company. The other two challenges that we're going to be exploring are the listeners are always interpreting what you say through the lens of their own stories. And I think that's another important feature of effective leadership, that they take the time to know their people. They take the time to understand their people preferences, to understand what they respond best to, because everybody is different and they are going to filter your words through their own experience. And as we say, there are many stories and you don't know the stories. So you need to be prepared for some different outcomes, even under your best intentions with your communication. And now to the last challenge is that all the words are reorganized to fit the listener's personal story or preconceived ideas. And so the communication will be interpreted based on this and not necessarily in what you might actually say. It seems daunting to think about communication. We're not here to say communication should be stopped. We're here to just give you an idea of how important it is for a leader to be prepared and know what is the outcome and the desired goal of his or her communication in times of innovation when they have to communicate important information to people around them. I love when I think about this because we need to remember that the probability that you are going to be misunderstood when you're trying to communication is high. But there is a solution. You need to be clear, deliberate, and focus. And so again, we're talking about preparation and we're talking about kindness and we're talking about knowing your team and being open, not only to speak, but also to listen and to learn to understand the reactions that are coming from the people in times of communication. There are expected reactions to people. Humans are hardwired from our primitive brain to know that changes can be feared because they represent the unknown. And resistance to change is expected. It is a common reaction when faced with new situations. How long we stay in resistance vary from person to person. But if the leader is surprised that there is a resistance when a new idea is presented, it shouldn't be a surprise because even the leader himself, if he or she has honesty about his or her reactions, they don't like change either, but they know that is necessary to move forward in their organization, and they need to find effective ways to communicate this change. So this is just realizing that there are some expected reactions to change. Communication becomes really important because it's going to deal with the internal response to change, which is the transition. This was an idea introduced by William Bridges in the late 80s, because change with that time was even more than we have now. We've been dealing with change for so long. And we need to recognize that people respond to this process internally by 3 different stages. The first thing, something they knew or we knew has ended or is going to end. And this in any shape or form represents a loss. And also the future or the new begin is not defined, or he or the people are going to be asked to define this new beginning. So the necessary process from the endings to the new beginnings is to learn to live in this in-between space. And by nature, the in-between space brings uncertainty, ambiguity, because you are dealing with the unknown. However, it's the time of most possibilities, and is the time where communication becomes the key element for guaranteeing the success moving forward. Communication becomes the path, becomes the beacon to help people navigate challenges in times of innovation. I love to think of this way because when things are confused, when things have ambiguity, we need somebody to help us to see a path. And that's what I like to see the communication. I love lights. And so this picture talks a lot to me, both the lighthouse by the sea as well as the white path. And that's how I see communication in times of change. It can help you create some strategies so this communication can be effective. Clarity in communication is a lot more important than certainty. I have worked with leaders who said, oh, I cannot tell them anything because I don't know it all. That's not important. People need to know about the process, and people need to be informed and need to be safe as we move into the unknown. So having to know everything, it's not a necessary condition. And it's okay to say, I don't have all the answers, or we don't have all the answers, but this is what we know now. And start bringing people and also make commitments to continue the communication as more information comes through. And here, usually, based on a lot of studies on communication, are some key elements that people in times of change and innovation need to know. What's wrong? That's the first thing. Why change? So many times we hear, we have not done this before. Why are we need to do differently? Or this been successful, don't break what's working. So there is the resistance. And if a leader is looking to new directions and innovation, it's important to understand what's wrong and why the change and why now. So that's when the clarity starts creating that vision for the future. Another thing that's important to let people know is why this is the best way. Whatever is being proposed, whatever is being asked. And sometimes, again, it's okay to say, this is the best we know now, and be open to hear opinions of others that may be doing the work and may come up with better ideas if the leaders are open to listening. And the other one, which is a key element, is the element that Lesya has mentioned, and we know that's so important in team, is the trust factor in effective teams. Why should I believe in you? And if you have a history of credibility in your organization, of trust, of teamwork, that hurdle becomes much easier. But you need to remember that it's important to create the clarity and the honesty in the communication so you can achieve the results that you want. When you're looking in communicating any change in times of innovation or difficult conversations, there are three key elements: the timing and the readiness of the people to hear that information. How much information should be given at any given time? And also, what are the choices for interaction? And we have many choices. Can be face-to-face, can be written communication. Nowadays, we have small groups, we have individual, we have Zoom team meetings. So the way that you choose, and sometimes you need to do it in more than one way. And we're going to be talking about some considerations of where to use the timing, readiness, and the amount in the choices as we go forward, helping you develop a plan for effective communication for innovation. A face-to-face interaction, either in small groups or one-on-one, is best when emotions are high. It's not good news. When you want to hear feedback, or when you need the feedback to understand and move in the best way for the next step. When there's a lot of resistance because you need to become well-equipped to accept the resistance, listen, and not shut people down because they are resisting. And also when encouragement is important, when your role as the leader needs to shore up people so they can continue to move in the desired outcome. Change is not easy. And that's why the communication in times of change and innovation need to pay attention to how to move people comfortably with trust into the direction that we need. So those are kind of the things to say. Is that a letter sufficient? And I know we are in the age of text and emails, but sometimes you need to create the space and the time to face to see people, and especially if the emotions are high or the information is difficult. There is a place for written interaction, and sometimes it follows the face-to-face interaction. And here is, again, some ideas to consider when you do written communication. A record for future reference is desired. And this is important because we need to have protocols, processes, an idea that we can relate back when was said, what was said, who was part of that communication, so we can continue to move forward. If the message is complex and it will require people to take time to understand and be prepared for a thoughtful discussion, it's important to send the information ahead of time and do it in writing. Same thing, if the person receiving the information needs to review it to be more participative in the next stage of the change innovation process. When it's step-by-step procedures, which in change and innovation are key to continue to move forward, and when it needs to be shared by a larger group of people, and you have to do all that documentation. So a best practice is talk to people and then confirm things in writing. And I know many of you in this call, and I know you just do that on a regular basis, but skipping the personal interaction sometimes can backfire because you miss a lot when you just send a letter, because you need to see people's reactions and be responsive and able to listen to them. This is an important communication checklist as you prepare. Is it positive? Am I presenting not a rosy picture, but I am presenting possibilities and opportunities? It's strategic. Can I look at the bigger picture of the bigger goals of the company and connect the initiative and my communication to this? Is future focused? I think one of the biggest elements of the ability to move forward is to respect, accept the past, but let it go as well. Without letting go of the past and being open to a future state of reality, you can get stuck. Sometimes I call the anchor that stops you from moving forward. And the one that's more important, is it true? Is it true to the extent you know right now? And also be prepared to say, I don't know. I will bring you more information in the future. This is all that is known at this time, and is a good way to start getting feedback of what is in the receiver ideas that can move the process forward with success. Here, I'm just giving you some questions when you're planning for an effective communication. Is what and how will I communicate? How will I tell them about the change, the innovation? What will I tell them? Why will this motivate and compel people to action and acceptance? Why should they believe in me? So this is just a checklist for you. And as we said earlier, remember that people want to know, what is the problem? Why change? Why now? What's in it for me? That's the station we all listen to. And what makes this the best way? So this is just a quick introduction to questions that you can ask yourself as you prepare. In preparation, in times of change, makes for the success of communications. And that the strategy that has been very effective and takes work. Communicating takes work, but the outcomes are just so much better when the leader is thoughtful and considerate and thinks about the others and the impact that the change is having. And it also has the vision of what the future needs to be. I know that we have a lot of information, and that is the reason that's our gift to you. And this is you to download a free ebook that I have written, Leadership in Communication, How Leaders Can Best Support People in Times of Change, is a detailed information of a lot of what I have said into this program, but you will have it in written form, and you can download it and use and, have a way to move forward with this communication. And that's our gift to you.